Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Hello, Hisham, are you on?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Hisham Wakim. We're going to start a presentation for the value engineering product management. Before we start, I would like to hear from the attendants and understand where you come from and what you do and why you're interested in this program. So I'm going to start sharing my screen, and please introduce yourselves. Let me know when you start seeing my screen. All right. Hello, I can see you now.
Okay. Hello.
All right.
I'm
Yes.
I'm William Keegan. I'm an engineer, mostly work in the Northeast US. I do project engineering, mostly in the utility sector.
Okay. Welcome. And I'm going to go in the order I see on my screen. So next is Harold.
Yes, that's me.
And you are from?
I'm sorry.
Where are you calling from? Which state and what do you do?
Pennsylvania. I'm a forensic engineer.
Okay, where in Pennsylvania? I'm in Pennsylvania, in Harrisburg.
Probably South Central.
Okay, cool.
Like
Well, welcome.
South of York.
South of York. Okay. All right. Thank you for joining. And there was one more, but I lost them on my screen now. So I think we got the third one, we got disconnected. All right. So we are 2 minutes in. I'm going to start sharing my screen. If you can please, I'm going to stop my video for now, just because sometimes it interferes with the bandwidth. So let me know what you see on my screen right now.
I see a main screen that says Hillmay Sewer.
Okay. So,
and I see a small insert up on the upper right of you.
okay. So yeah, I wanted to make sure that you're seeing the screen. So you should be seeing the agenda screen right now. Please let me know if that is the case.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So we are ready to start now. Okay, so for today, we're going to go over the elements of the value engineering product management. Product management is an essential function in every organization, although it is called differently in different organizations, and I'll reference that as we go through. Our agenda for today, we have 2 hours, and the first hour is going to cover the clarity part. How do you know yourself and your business, and the organizational impact from yourself on the organization and from the organization on you. It is a two-way street. The second part is we're going to have a 5-minute break in between, and then the second part we're going to cover the strategy development, the scope of your strategy, and how you go about positioning your business. And then we'll open it for questions and answers. If you have any questions as we go through, please make sure that you enter them in the chat or Q&A. If you prefer to just ask the question as we go, I'm okay with that. It doesn't bother me if you just raise your hand or stop me and let me know that you have a question. So either way is fine. So first, that's a little bit about myself. My name is Hisham Wakim. I am in central Pennsylvania, and I've been in this area for quite a while. Graduated from Penn State University with Master of Engineering a long time ago, it seems. And then I obtained a Master of Business Administration, spent about 20 years in manufacturing. During that time, I held different roles, most of them in product management, and it relates to engineering management as well. I started my career, though, as a design engineer in the electronics manufacturing area. So with what I'm doing now, I help business pretty much to customize what they have to get more out of their business. So I work with small businesses within the manufacturing and engineering scope, if you will, within this region, to help them out to get more value out of their business. Because in my opinion, we don't need to reinvent the wheel each time we want to accomplish something. It is just a matter of utilizing what we have, customizing it, and then we can have much better results. So with that, let me go to the start of the next slide and if you're not seeing, because I have two screens here, if I'm jumping and clicking on the wrong thing, please let me know if you're not seeing the screen that I'm referencing. From a clarity standpoint, what I'm displaying here on the left side of the slide are really the elements of any strategy, pretty much in any type of business, right? You always need to understand and have values. And those values need to be resonating in your vision, mission, and purpose. You always need to have SMART goals. You have the knowledge and skills that make up your capability, habits of thoughts and action plan, and outline your capacity pretty much and what you can and cannot do. So all of these elements really show you the what, how, why, when, and where of anything that you're doing with your business. And once you have a good grasp on all of these elements, that's really where you can see the right path to the end result that you need to achieve for your business. The next slide is showing the clarity as part of the pyramid, the company or the business pyramid. The clarity is the foundation of any business because you cannot have leadership and good results if you are not having a clear foundation, if you don't understand your business and what you're doing. You cannot measure your effectiveness if you don't have clarity on what you're doing and what is the rest of the organization is doing. You will not have a good growth visual of what you have accomplished. You will not be able to measure the sales effectiveness and the sales reach and growth and how much more you can reach. All of that is tied into the bottom, the foundation of it. And that is what we call clarity of the business. And clarity means you need to understand yourself, your behavior style, your communication style, how you receive and deliver communication, and that of your surroundings, every other function, every team in the company. Have a good understanding of your competitors, your customers, your market, the scope of the opportunity that you have and your reach. And that combined, gives you the good foundation to actually look at how you grow your business from what it is now to the next level that you want it to be. So in order for us to achieve success in our business and be happy with it, we have to be clear on what we are doing. And the more clear we are on what we're doing, the higher the chances are to achieve it. The first part of the clarity is really understanding yourself and your team. What we're saying here, know yourself and know your team. The culture of the organization is very important to your success and to your team's success. And communication is a big part of it. So the end result in communication, what we like to see is the chameleon style, if you will, where if I'm a chameleon, I can communicate with anybody with any style and achieve that desired results. From a historical standpoint, the reason communication is important, okay, for product management is that it has been throughout history focused on different studies with different type of assessment, different type of test, different type of categorization. But the bottom line is they all tell you how important it is throughout the centuries and what it does to your social life and to your business. A lot of times we think that we are listening, but we're not. We need to not just hear what's being said, but actually monitor and observe from functions, from products, from people superior or direct reports or production workers. The crucial part of communication for value engineering product management is that in this function, the expectation is that you are acting as the CEO of a product or a segment of the business or the entire business. So you need to be able to communicate at all levels, whether it's a production worker, it's the maintenance guy, or it's the CEO. You have to be able to turn on and off, which is the appropriate communication for the receiving party of that communication at that time. And it is a note here, I'd like to emphasize on this. Many people think we're articulate, we can select our words, we can spend time selecting our words and making sure that we're saying the right thing. But no matter how careful we are, the word content is only 7% of our communication, okay? What supersedes the communication is the tone of voice and the body language. So we have to be very careful and study that very well in order to make sure that we are effective and efficient in our communication. So how can we make sure of that? We have what we call the DISC assessment. We have several assessments out there in the market. I like DISC, and I give workshops that are specific to utilizing DISC assessments, and I like people to take it before. Usually I give them the workshop related to the communication styles. In this case, I wanted to incorporate just to make sure that everybody is aware of what is DISC and how we can utilize it in our functions for value engineering and product management. So DISC stands for 4 behavioral styles: the dominance, influence, steadiness, and compliance. So we're kind of segmenting the whole population within 4 groups from a communication behavior standpoint. So what does that mean? From a dominant side, they are the direct people that they do not like people's opinions or details. They only care about results and facts. So they want the fact and figures. When we talk about the influence type, these are the indirect people that they're generally not organized, but they're really happy people, positive. They always want to make sure that everybody has a good experience. So they are about the experience, not at the task at hand. And we want to make sure that we allow them to have a good experience in order for them to be open to our communication. The third style is the steadiness style, and those are the slow, secure approach type of people, and they like to take things slowly. They like to be assured about the end result or about the next step before they move to that step. So security to them is essential. Then we have the compliance, and that's where a lot of our engineers and scientists fall into place, because that is the detailed approach. That's the compliancy. Those are the people that like to follow rules and regulations. Okay, and the reason it is important to distinguish each one and understand the differences between each one is that if I communicated with everybody according to my style, I lose 70% of the opportunity, if not more. So we wanted to make sure that when we communicate with others, we communicate according to their style. And that's where it is important to understand when, when you go through a DISC assessment, they give you a natural and adapted style. And that what that means is that how you are born, how you naturally communicate without any outside influences. And the adapted style is how you adjust yourself according to your surroundings and to the people that you're communicating with. So that's where we control perceptions. And in order for us to understand how we need to adjust, we can control how the other side is perceiving our communication. This is a snapshot of the different styles and their body language. It gives you a pretty good picture of how they communicate and which one is the C's, which one is the I's, S, and D's. All right. So it talks about your proximity to the person. For example, if we are a C, we don't like to be touched. High C's don't like to be touched. You have a lot of I's that are very happy. They like to hug people. So if I'm an I and I'm coming to a meeting and I'm hugging somebody, just because I know the person next to them and I don't want to leave that person out, I am creating an uncomfortable environment for that person, and that impacts the communication. So it is important to understand those differences and understand that the beginning of the meeting really sets the tone for how receptive the audience or the other side of the table to what you have to share. And this is a nice slide that I like because it gives you a face along with this different style that shown on the picture here. We have the C's and the D's are task oriented, and that's where you have them. The difference between them is whether they're outgoing or reserved. So if we have engineers from two different companies, for example, and you have the customer on the receiving side, they are a high D, and on the engineer that's presenting is a high C, okay? This guy is all about the details, very reserved and very, detail oriented, and it's all about the task steps. This person here is all about just the end results, doesn't care about anybody's opinion, just wanted to tell you exactly, here is 1, 2, 3, here is what we need, here are the steps, followed, done, move on. And if you have these two people communicating together and not aware, neither side is aware about the limitation of their communication style, that can be a torturing conversation, number one, and not productive at all. Similarly, with the other styles, you have, the S's, very introverted people that, like Mother Teresa, about making sure people are safe and secure. And you have Oprah on this side, who's a high I. She's outgoing, she wants to help people and have a positive experience, but, being in the spotlight. Where on this side, the S's don't care about the spotlight. They're both about the people, not about the task, but they have vast differences within their behavior styles. So if we understand that, then we know how to reach them. All right. So some individuals are not very familiar with DISC, but they have taken something like by Myers-Briggs behavior assessments. And this slide here, I put it together so the people that are familiar with that and not with DISC understand how it corresponds. Okay, so there are 16 squares within the Myers-Briggs and then 4 squares within DISC. And this is the where they pretty much match. All right. We have something here that is called the insight wheel. And if we are doing DISC for an organization, it is nice to have more than one person go through this assessment, because in this here on the insight wheel side, we can show the different people and where they fall in. If they fall right in the center here, it's all about me, me, me. If they fall on the outside here, it's more part of the organization. And there are different styles for each person. The S's where the roles, there can be, you know, their coordinators, their supporters, their realtors, where, you know, the D's can be on the conductor, implementer side. So it is, and it is very useful that we have the entire team evaluated, if we can, of course. Sometimes the product manager has the authority to make this happen, depending on the size of the organization they're responsible for, and sometimes they don't. If you have that power or that authority, it is a good idea to make sure that the team as a whole is assessed and each person understand where they fit within the organization. All right, so before I move to the next section, any questions so far?
Oh, keep going.
Okay, all right, so you still see the same screen, correct? Hisham, can you like confirm for me here, please, before we move on, so I can
Know your business screen.
what do I
Same.
see? The same screen, know your business. Okay, all right, good. Okay, so how do we know our business? In order for us to understand our business, we have to understand first the product. We have to understand our competition. We have to understand our customers and market. And with that, let's start with our, my favorite guy is Simon Sinek. I'm not sure how much familiarity you have with them, but there is a video here that I wouldn't have time to play it here, but I would encourage you to check it out. And what he does here, I'm illustrating on the screen. He has a book also that's called Start With Why, and that is recommended for you. It's a good read, but it's very interesting. So what Simon says is that a lot of organizations, they know what they're making, they know how they make it, okay? So if you ask some organizations about it, some individuals within the organization what they make, they can easily tell you, and how they make it, they can easily tell you. Not many people understand their why. And the why is really the purpose of that organization, of that existence, why you do what you do, why you're in this kind of profession versus other. And why are you in this company versus another? Why are you in this business versus another? So understanding your why is key. And then that would translate to understand the why of your business. And when companies come and talk to you about, for example, when they want to share, want you to buy their product, what do they tell you? We make computers, we make them easy to use. They expect you to buy something. But the way that Simon explains it is that, you know, communicate from the inside out as opposed to from the outside in. This way you can reach better your customers, okay? And what that means, you let the customers know that we are, you know, we care about, you know, the human advancement, for example, advancing the community, advancing the technology, and this is why we are in this business. This is what we do, how we do what we do, and why we do it. It is a better message, an easier message for your customers to understand what you're doing and value what you provide to them. All right, and so when it comes to understanding the product in general, right? We want to know what is the product that this company is making, how it is made, where it is made, the size of the company, how is the product used, what is the application? You know, I am providing this for the automotive market, for example, or I'm providing this for the energy companies. Yeah, I wanted to understand how they're using it, because that will give me clues about my future roadmap for the product and how to advance my product. And also, when I understand my customer's customer base, that gives me a better idea on where my product is going and how I can advance it and what growth opportunities I have in the future. Another thing that we wanted to understand with our product is, why is my product better than others? What makes it different? Is it the function? Is it the availability? Is it the inventory style, the service level? Whatever it is, we have to make sure that we understand that and articulate it well in order to develop some more business and growth for us. And also from a value standpoint, what value does our product offer to the customer? Even if it's a pen, what value the pen will offer to this customer collectively? And with that, we can move to the next slide. You should be seeing the competitive matrix here. And with the competitive matrix, we want to compare ourselves, our product or service, to our competition so that we can understand how different is the product. If I am comparing here, those are the key areas to compare, but I could compare how is my website looking as compared to my competition. What do they offer? Is it more easy for the customer to navigate my website versus my competitor's website? The key things when I'm doing a product matrix compared with the competition is that I'm looking at the talent, capability, capacity, and footprint, because those are the key areas where I can compete, I can exceed my competition and become a leader for my industry, or I can lag behind. And there are here, this is just an example. This is easily constructed in PowerPoint or in Excel. It's not challenging. It's just the way that it is done here, the way it is shown. It gives you a quick snapshot about your position with respect to your competitors.
I got you a new cup.
Hmm?
I got you a new cup.
Oh, okay.
I went to get coffee with Jared after I was done with Amanda.
Hmm.
Because I drove right by the apartment.
There are some people talking. Hello? Okay. All right, good. I was hearing discussions about coffee and things like that, so I wanted to make sure that we're all on the same page. Okay. All right, so let's move now to our next slide, which is continuation of this one, and that responds to, from a positioning matrix with respect to the competition. We're going to talk about positioning strategy in part 2, but the positioning matrix here is just corresponding to what is your position in the market with respect to your competition. So on this matrix here, what we do, the size of the bubble is really the size of the organization. The horizontal axis is the price. Where do I fall? Am I on the low price or high price side? And from a product breadth standpoint, do I make a product line or a service line that is comprehensive? My customers are happy, that provide them the concept that some organizations refer to as one-stop shop? Or do they have to buy partial service from me and then complement it with something else? Because that will also reduce my opportunity within my market. All right. Next, we want to talk about the customer, right? So the next part of knowing our business is really knowing our customer. And what do I mean by that? If I'm offering my customers something, I wanted to understand where they use it. I wanted to understand their end product or service. How do I fit within their customer arena, within their application and their customer and the end user? if I understand all of these parts, I can align my product to service each one of those parts, and also I can allow customization, because a lot of times the opportunity is what we call the low-hanging fruit is not really by starting development from scratch. It's only by customizing what we have. Sometimes I have the same product that I need to just get additional approval in order to use it in a different application. Or something would fit in this type of building, I need to get a different, if I'm doing cabling of a building, right? If I'm like connecting the electricity of this commercial building, I can use certain product, but it has to meet different level of electrical requirements or jacket material for different environmental condition, for example. I'm not starting my construction from scratch of a new product. I'm just using what I have, making adjustments in order to further my reach within my customer base and my market. And also the customers really appreciate it when we show interest in their end customer, because we're enabling them pretty much to address their opportunities. All right, so once we understand our competition, we understand our customers, then what we can construct is what we call the SWOT analysis, right? This is really essential for us to understand our position in the market. We went over our comparison with the competition. We went over our product and positioning from a pricing standpoint, from a application standpoint and customer. Then we can come here and we can put down wherever we think that we are strong, where our weaknesses are, where we think our weaknesses can be opportunities, what we can do, and then where are our threats. The threats can be a competitor that is, fast moving, or big companies that are going around and buying a couple of my competitors and making them really, really strong. So that is a threat for me. I need to be able to catch up very quickly in order to preserve what I have in the market and in order to grow my opportunities. So the outcome after the SWOT analysis would be, how do I stand out in the market? Do I stand out, or am I really invisible? And in either case, I wanted to make sure that I address either case, right? If I'm invisible, how can I make myself invisible? If I stand out, how can I protect that position? All right, next, we're gonna go over understanding the organization, and we are doing good on time. So I wanted to ask if anyone has any questions before I move to the next section. Okay, so we're ready. We can move to the next section then, and that is, how do we look at our organization and how it impacts ourselves. So when we're looking at organizations, when we want to join organization or build our own, we want to understand what is the environment and the culture that we're joining or we're creating, okay? And we want to make sure that it is genuine, because there's a lot of buzzwords in different industries about inclusion and diversity, for example. There are organizations that are genuinely inclusive, and there are those who just say they're inclusive, but in reality, they are not. They're far from it. So how do we distinguish that, and how do we make sure that our organization is presented that way? So good organizations, inclusive organizations, they invest in their people. And you can see that usually within their values, within their website. They tell you that, people are our biggest asset. So if you invest in people and monitor their progress and make sure that you encourage the approximately right behavior in order for it to become the right behavior, and then reward that performance. If it's a good performance, reward it. That's what I have the gold. I love this picture because it shows a great reward with the gold. And if they don't do well, we cannot just walk away from it or let them pretty much go on the ride, rewarded for other people's hard work. We have to make sure that we stop it, we address it, we invest in them, we train them, whether it's communication or technical or whatever else that they need. We invest in those people and we monitor them again, and then we reward. So it is like a cycle for a genuine organization. In order to create this inclusive environment and prep, the next inclusive leadership within the organization, and make sure the culture is outstanding, we have to be very careful about this cycle here and make sure that we follow it always and we monitor as managers. And a big responsibility here falls on engineering product management, because within the organization, it starts with engineering and then it ends with the engineering. We're the ones who start the product or the service, blueprint, all of it starts with engineering. And we need to carry it over throughout the organization to the results. Because guess what? If the results are not good, it goes back to the engineer. It's always the engineer's fault. And the product manager and engineer who really cares about the product, not just managing a business P&L, want to make sure that he or she has a really good inclusive environment. All right, if we look at part of the leadership and the culture, right? So I don't know what's going on here with animation. It's not really coming on very well, but I apologize for that. Anyways, as part of the inclusive leadership is the mindset, really. What makes different people succeed versus other people, or make them more successful than other people? They're not succeeding by an accident, for sure. And we have example here of great people, great leaders throughout the world. What made them differently than others and got them to reach the level that they did? It's really their mindset. So the leadership mindset is key here, and developing it is also is a key. So if I were to ask the team here, if you can give me from a skills standpoint versus attitude versus knowledge, how much focus do you think organizations now, especially engineering organizations, are putting on attitude versus knowledge versus skill? You can either talk or put it in the chat box.
Say more attitude than skills or knowledge these days.
Okay. Out of 100%, how much do you think it's attitude?
Between 80 and 90. I'm looking at the slide, 85%, say.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't, sorry about that. The slide wasn't showing all of the information. So I wanted to ask before I display the 85%, but it is displayed already. Many organizations, they focus a lot on the skills and knowledge. And when the study was conducted by the Dale Carnegie Institute, they had, or foundation, I apologize, they had found out that these two only make up 15%, and the attitude actually makes up 85%. So a shift is needed in order for organizations to bring in people that they match their culture. It doesn't mean that skills and knowledge are not important, but if we have the skills and we have the knowledge, but we don't have the attitude, we don't have the, the right positive attitude and the right communication skill, we can't really succeed. We can't develop the right culture and the right leadership. All right, so next we're going to talk about, building strategic alliance. So from a value engineering product management function, you are here in the center. All right, what we need to do, we need to make sure that we are communicating well with the teams. Those are our team, different teams within an organization, different functions that we work with. The same thing with the suppliers or partners. We're working with suppliers. We want to have the relationship with them as partners, not just, I have a PO and that would be the extent of my relationship with you. That shouldn't be the case. We want to also make sure that we maintain customer relationships. What I did when I was in the industry, with my own product management responsibility, I would have a visit each quarter for different customers. Whether we had a new project to work on or not, it didn't matter. If we didn't have it and I'm traveling to one, of the continents, I would stop if there is a stop that allows me to visit a customer, just from the standpoint saying, thank you for your business. Why do we do that? If we do this way, the first new project that would be coming next, I'm going to be first in their mind before my competitor if my competitor is not doing that. But if I'm not showing up, if I'm not showing them that I care about the business and about their business and what they're receiving from me, I'm not going to be their first call. So we want to make sure that we maintain that relationship so that we are the first choice for them for further development. If we're looking at, these are for existing customers, similar treatment we want to make sure for prospects. If this company I have an interest in and I know I can serve them well, but they have somebody else, for example, providing the same service, I wanted to make sure that I maintain the line of communication, visitation, give them updates about how we're doing, let them know about, our next product or next service level. This way, again, we are among the top choices that they have for their new projects. From industry association standpoint, many people, they just go through the motion of going to the job every morning and, okay, I'm done 9 to 5, that's it, I go home, and I don't do anything with the industry association. Regardless of what industry you're in, we have conferences related to our industry or product or service. We have trade shows. We have industry associations that they have, what they call them, I'm escaping the word, sorry, but they have specific conferences on certain technology, the next technology or product that coming out, and they decide pretty much what is the next trend. So if I am not participating in these associations, number one, I wouldn't be aware of what's coming, and number two, I wouldn't be in the lead position within the market. And lastly, the executive management. So I am here, I'm maintaining all of these good relationships. And if I don't have a good relationship with my executive management, for example, I'm missing out. So my connection here, my circle needs to be connected all the way with each one of those functions in order to make sure that my function is leading, my function is successful, my team is successful, and I am personally known and successful. Okay. So with that, that really ends our part one of this webinar today. And I wanted to make sure before we go on break, if any questions, we can address them right now. I haven't seen, I'm checking the question and answer or the chat box, but I haven't seen anything yet. Any questions or comments so far?
No.
Okay. How relevant is what we covered so far to your organization? Okay, let me ask you this. How many or have you been exposed to or subject to assessment, communication assessment, or behavioral assessment? No?
Well, this is like a little bit like the psychology of doing your business.
Yes.
Okay. So, you know, I'm in project management, but I see, you know, we have all of these facets from executive management going around the loop to industrial organizations. And the thing is, frequently we have multiple customers and the customer is not always the paying customer who is
Right.
paying your salary. Right.
Mm-hmm. But you have different layers of the customer, right? So the exposure would be with more than one side, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And do you see the benefit here, or do you see what I'm saying about maintaining the relationship, whether they are current customer or prospect? Do you see that in your day-to-day beneficial?
Yes. Well, I've been an engineer for many years in
Yes.
the utility project business. And what happens is it becomes a small world.
Mm-hmm.
You're constantly running into this over the years the same people and groups. So they all become prospects, become customers sooner or later.
Right. But they have to know you in order to.
You have to be in the loop.
Exactly. You always have to be in the loop and prepared. Okay. So any thoughts about the different behavioral styles? Have you guys been exposed to that before? Any thoughts on that? If it's your first time, let me know it's your first time, because it is a little bit challenging to follow it when you see it for the first time. So if it is your first time, I'd like to elaborate a little bit further on it. That's why I'm asking.
Well, years back, I was senior reactor operator in the nuclear business. And we had to take personality profiles and sanity tests and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to learn how to not only handle situations, but handle the people to direct them to maintain the situations.
Yep.
So it was very, very similar.
Very similar, yes. And like I said, throughout the past couple of decades, there are so many different assessments that are coming out, and some are personality assessments, but some behavioral assessments of groups. And that's really what I'm referring to here. So regardless of what your personality or mine are, we exhibit certain behavioral styles that would group us under a specific group. For engineers, usually we are high C's, and when we want to communicate with other people, we have to make sure that we understand they are not at the same level of understanding the material that we are presenting, and we want to make sure that we can reach them and ensure the understanding there. And I'm going to give you an example here for everyone. If I am coming into an organization tomorrow and I am the new boss and I am going to meet with people, and letting them know, here's what I like, here's what I don't like, and okay, thank you, let's work together and reach the results. The reception from their side will not be as effective as if I'm asking them.
Certainly no improvement.
Right. So it would be more effective if I come in and ask the people, what is your style of communicating? What is your style of working throughout the project process? How do you like to receive communication? How do you like to deliver communication? When you're showing a genuine interest in the other people, the likelihood of their open perception of what you have to share becomes higher and higher, as opposed to just letting people, here is what I like and dislike, and here is what I want to accomplish today, I'm done. Doesn't matter what you want to get done. That's really the difference. So regardless of the industry, regardless of the engagement, and again, whether it's with one customer, prospect, team, executive, supplier, industry colleague, we have to be very careful about how to communicate and also how to analyze the communication coming from the other side. All right, so with that, Hisham, shall we take the break now if there are no questions, and then we resume to part 2?
Yes.
Okay, so thank you, and we can take 5-minute break now, so we can be back at 3:58 or 59, actually. Now it just turned to, okay, let's resume at 4 p.m. Okay, so it is 4 p.m. We're gonna start part 2. With part 2, we're gonna talk about how to develop strategy for our business. And the basis, like I said, the basis of good strategy is really to be clear and understand our business from A to Z, which what we covered in part A or part 1. That's where we understand our market, we understand our, or we begin to understand our market, because we understand ourselves, our business, our team, our competitors, and our customers. So now we're gonna put all of that into work in order to develop our strategy in the market. The first thing that we want to do, though, is we want to look at our total market. So there are different companies utilizing this same model, the TAM, PAM, SAM, but they call them a little bit differently. The bottom line is, oh, before I go on, I just wanted to confirm, can you still see the slides? Can you still see the screen? Because my square, my green square just disappeared. So Hisham, can you confirm? Can you see?
Yes.
Yes, okay. All right, thank you. So what you should be seeing here is this sphere of 3 parts, right? The first part is the total available market. The second part is the potential available market. And then the third, the smallest part, is the serviceable, or the services available market. And the difference between these two, between these 3, sorry, is that this is the total opportunity, okay? Within the industry, within the market that I'm after, this is a total available opportunity. Am I gonna be able to address and service all of this? Do I have product to address everything needed within this scope? That's not the case usually. Usually I don't. Usually I have partial of the product and I have partial of the service. And that's what we need to look at next. So The second part here, which is the lighter blue sphere, it's the potential available market. And some industries refer to it as product available market. What potential means is that I have enough product or service to address part of that market. Okay, and if I make certain modification to certain product or certain service, just to transfer it from one application to the next, then I can capture some more market share. All right, the smallest sphere down here is the serviceable market, and that is what I can address the here and now. Right? How much? If this opportunity, if the total market, for example, is $1 billion and my potential in it is about 200 million, okay, then is it 50 million what I can do now, or what I can reach, or 10 million? That will all depend on what I have to offer. So on this square here, what we look at, what do I have between what I can do now and what I can do potentially in the next 5 to 10 years, for example. What are the gaps? And define them here. So I define, I'm lacking this product, or I lack this service in this particular area. So add the details. Those details are very important because we're going to carry them with us to develop our future position and our roadmap. Okay, so first we develop the gap between the total and the potential. What are the gaps between the two as it relates to my business? And then what are the gaps between these two markets, the serviceable now and the potential? What gaps do I have? What service do I lack? What product do I lack that I needed to make up or develop or customize? Have add-on features, add people, whatever it is that I need in order to make up the gap between each one is very important to define now, and define all the details that go along with it. This analysis or this model, the TAM-PAM-SAM, is very, very important to understand the scope of your opportunity within a market and how much market share you can gain, because it shows you your current position, the bridge that you have from one to the next in order to reach your future position within that market. Next, we want to look at the strategy focus. What strategy are we going to follow? Am I going to go into this market? I have a goal to reach, of course. Every business has a goal to reach, right? But in order to reach that goal, I have two options with the strategy. Do I focus on cost, or do I focus on differentiation? Do I want my product to stand out? And I'm not going to talk about cost and price. Or do I want to offer, cost reductions, or, lower cost version of this product and, lower cost than my competition? Or I want it to just focus on how much I'm paying for something and use that for my pricing, for my marketing, for everything else that follows this strategy. So you have to have the focus defined early on before you can progress to the next step. This will define your competitive advantage. This will give you the basis on how to look at your competition and your market. Next, we want to talk about the unique value proposition. So we define first our focus, our strategic focus. Then we want to develop our unique value proposition, or some organizations refer to this as unique selling proposition. So we have to define it. We have to understand it in order to make sure that it is communicated correctly. What we want to follow, we want to follow what we call the integrative strategic approach. Because if we want to only focus on operational effectiveness on our value chain, okay, that is not really how we can address the market. We need to be careful of not to fall into the ideology that if we are effective and efficient in our operation, we have the right, supply chain, we have the right footprint, we have the right operation, then we are successful, and that's how we're going to communicate. All right. This is just ensures that we have the best practices and continuous improvement. It doesn't tell the customer the story. It doesn't tell potential customers our story. What does tell them the story is when we communicate, if you look at it from the standpoint of communicating inward versus outward, the star here represents that the outward communication is how we use our internal story in order to make it known to the market, in order to show them what is our value and how is our value higher than our rivals and why they should select us. In order for us, though, to be able to make sure we do this effectively, we have to utilize what we call VOC. VOC is crucial here. That's the voice of the customer. So I have the right operation. I know that it's effective, it's efficient. I have the right people in place, the right skill set, and the right knowledge. Okay, that's all fine and dandy. But if I'm not listening to my customer needs and their customer needs, how am I going to show them what I have to be a value of what they need and address them what they need? Okay, so I want to make sure I insert my business to be part of the customer business, creating the need. I am letting them know that here is what I can do, but before I tell them here is what I can do, here is really what you need, and you know what? I can address that need. And I am better on addressing that need than my rival. That's how we use voice of the customer effectively in order to develop our strategy. So we use it early on to actually develop our unique value proposition. We use it early on to understand the scope of our opportunity and how we can utilize all the information in order to focus and enlarge that scope. Okay. So the next thing we need is we need goals. We need to identify the resources. And from product management, project management standpoint, we understand that anytime we are working on a project, we need to have the project timeline. What are the elements of the project timeline? We need to have specific actions, specific goals, number one, and specific actions to address them. We need to make sure that those are measurable. We want to understand how much we need of something and how well we need to do it so that we can accurately measure or monitor and make sure that we are at the expected value, we are exceeding, or we are under that value. Also, from alignment standpoint, we need to make sure that our goals and our actions resonate and correspond with our values, vision, and mission. If I'm saying that integrity is a value that I'm holding dear in my business, and I am conducting business in a not decent way, that doesn't really resonate with my values. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what my path is, what my results are, the final results that are needed to accomplish, or I'm just not being transparent. I'm saying one thing and I'm doing another. So alignment is crucial between our timeline, our actions, our goals, our anything that we do to be aligned with our strategy, with our values, with the vision of the organization, with the mission. That's why it is extremely important to understand those early on. Then the other thing, we want to make sure that it is realistic, right? What we're saying we're going to do is actually achievable. If I'm getting a customer here asking me to deliver this commercial building within 30 days, I'm drafting today. I don't even have the blueprint to do anything. That is crazy. That is extremely unrealistic. If I agree to it, I would be as crazy as that customer. Expectation and the corresponding both are totally unrealistic. I'm either putting strain on my organization to meet unrealistic goals, which means I'm going to lose something somehow. Either people, they will deliver, or they can't deliver they will deliver and be exhausted and after that leave, or they can't deliver and they're gonna leave. And then I'm gonna end up with a strained organization. So it is important to understand the realistic, achievable results that we are committing to. Lastly is a time bound. Everything that we do, any project that we work on has to have a start date and an end date following that, realistic aligned approach. So we always have to have a time frame, and we're always determined to meet that time frame. It's not a good practice if we are waiting to the last minute. Somebody is expecting a delivery by the end of this week, and I'm reaching out to them on Thursday telling them that we can't make it. That is a big stigma on the business. It has to be partnership. It has to be realistic timeline between my communication and the receiving communication in order to make sure that they understand whether delivery is going to be done. If it's not, then we need to make sure we reach an agreement so that from their end also, they still have to deliver certain things. They can mitigate those risks. Okay. So some companies, they do things, they just decide this is what we're going to do. Okay, we're going to go about it, and we don't care about using, the project management techniques, if you will. And yeah, so what if we are late, we're late. If our expectation is to be, 97.7% on delivery, but we are, 75 on delivery, that's okay. We're big enough, the customers will understand. I've seen it happen before, and it doesn't matter how big the organization is, customers will walk away. So this is very crucial that we have all these elements within any time that we're looking at resources and project timelines. All right, next is from a responsibility standpoint. So now we've been talking about different aspects, and we want to talk about what is the level of responsibility for a product manager. And in different organizations, like I said, the terminology could be different. Some organizations look at product management and project management are one of the and the same. It is not the case. Project management is more on the execution side. Product management is overseeing the execution, but also developing the strategy of the business. Okay. And I've seen organizations, they have in product management and in project management, people that don't have the technical background. And I'm not saying that they need to have, PhD in engineering in order to manage a project, but they need to have the necessary technical training in order to be able to manage projects like that or products. So they need to understand the background. If you're managing, computer company or whatever it is, or a project, of construction, you need to understand what goes into that product. If you're, managing a network, for example, you have to understand the protocols. You have to understand how the PLC talks to, the different parts of the factory. Or if you're connecting, communication networks, you have to understand how the network works and how the connections work. Because at the end, we may not always see that the product management and engineering take the credit for the success, but we see all the time when there is a failure, the first people to be responsible are the engineering and the product management team. Those are the ones that they come, it doesn't matter what the issue is. The first thing first, they come to this team and blaming them pretty much for the failure, not always giving them credit for the success. So understanding that, we need to always understand what is the background. We need to have the technical background that builds our product, and we need to understand the results. What am I doing? Am I making a PCB board, or am I building a bridge? What the end result is and what is the background that I need in order to accomplish that is very crucial for this type of function. Excuse me. All right, any questions before we move to part B of the second part of this webinar? Okay, that's good. Everybody is clear? All right, so we learned how to pick our strategy, how to look at the market, how to select our the different team background in order to meet the results that are needed, and our goals. We're going to put that into work now. So in order to gain the position that we want to have within our environment, okay? So from an effective positioning standpoint, we have to look at our pricing strategy. We have to look at, the P&L. The product manager is responsible for the life cycle of the product or the service, whatever assignment that they have, and they are fully responsible for the P&L, okay? And we need to understand our capability and capacity, because that determines whether we are ready to take on the project or not. We need to also understand from our future roadmap, can we compete? Okay, we defined first our current competitive level with the current product and service. We did that early on in the webinar. Right now, we want to look at what we have versus what we need and what the market needs in the future, and can we reach what we need to reach? And again, all of these are centered in around the voice of the customer. So in order for us to get to the right position, we need to listen, observe our customers, and get their input in everything that we do before we start developing for the future. If I am producing an iPhone, for example, and I don't know what is the next network level happening 2 years from now, I am producing something for the here and now. I am not watching the market trends and communication so that I can develop a device that will actually address that future need. So my product will become obsolete very quickly unless I am looking ahead for the next 5 to 10 year trend. Okay, so first we're going to look at the pricing strategy. So pricing strategies have different focus, and they have different benefits, different advantages and disadvantages. We have 3 that we're looking at here. So we have cost plus strategy, we have market pricing strategy, and we have the flex pricing, what we call. So what I'm going to do here is to give you the key advantage and key disadvantage of each one of those. But there are more to this, and this is, by the way, reference. I don't have the link here, but I can send it to you. It is referenced from a study by the Harvard Business School. So they look at these and they studied each one of them and what it does to your product and your business. The first one is cost plus. And I've used each one of those strategies in different organizations. Depend on your market, depending on your customer, one could be better than the other one. The damage happens when you choose cost plus, where all your competitors are doing flex pricing, for example. Then you're really out of the picture here. So cost plus meaning I'm just looking at my cost. If this cost me $30, then I'm just going to use that cost and add whatever profit built to it, delivery, handling, whatever other components, and then that would be the price to the customer, all right? The advantage of this model is consistency. I always know that all these add-ons, and this is the profit level that I want, okay? And then I'm putting all of these add-ons to this base. Whatever, if this base changes, if this $30 becomes $50, then this will automatically change because I have the formula with all the add-ons and the profit that I'm desiring. So it is consistent, it is easy to understand, easy to follow. The disadvantage here is it doesn't have the customer input, right? It ignores pretty much customer input. It's all about me, my cost, and the profit that I desire. Doesn't matter what the customer wants at this point with this type of strategy. Where if I'm looking at a market pricing level, I look at what is the market at this point. How much the customers are willing to pay for this type of product, and how much are my competitors selling this type of product. Okay, what the advantage here is that it allows me to differentiate myself from others. I can use that as a differentiation factor. I can look at the product, put unique features, whatever it is, to justify the price that I will give to my customers. The disadvantage here is that it is open for negotiations, because with market pricing, this customer wants to pay this much, the other customer wants to pay that much. It becomes inconsistent. Okay, when we go to flex pricing is advantageous in situations where it is expected in the market. Okay, so it maximizes your profit because it goes along with the market trends. I'm producing product A today, and I'm doing A prime tomorrow. I'm adding a little bit to that price. It allows me to make more profit as I develop and advance my product. Okay. The disadvantage there is that it is difficult to manage. If I have this phone and I'm adding, this color, I'm putting a price premium on it. If I'm doing, different color, I'm reducing the price because of that color availability or whatever. And believe it or not, there are certain products that in manufacturing, the color makes a big difference in the price because of the pigmentation. How much volume do I have to make a red item versus white item? Okay, and with that point, I have to put different prices on it. It's going to be very difficult to manage from the product manager who is responsible to assign those prices and profit levels, but also the people that process the orders or follow the project from beginning to end, the process steps. It's going to be to require more resources in order to manage that prices. So with that, we have to be very careful in selecting. We have to understand what benefit each strategy gives us and what are the disadvantages. If the benefits outweigh the risks and the disadvantages, then fine. That is really the strategy that we need to go with. Regardless of which one that we use, we have to always be mindful of the voice of customer. We need to understand the customer preferences on our prices, ask for their input, and see, not necessarily, asking them, I have this that cost me $30, how much shall I sell it? That's not really what I'm saying here. Understand how much they are willing to pay for a product or service before you can analyze your product or your service from a pricing standpoint and build your strategy around that. So voice of customer, again, is very crucial. Next, we're going to look at the profit loss. We're going to look at the capability and capacity. So what do we mean by that, though? We have a value engineering product management function that is looking at, or responsible for the entire P&L. They are responsible to design the product. They are responsible to make sure, or the service, they are responsible to make sure that it is carried on effectively and efficiently. So they monitor it closely. And if there is any action that is not going as planned or not delivering the action, the results required, then they need to counter for each measure that we're monitoring or we're putting in place with our action plan, we need to be able to quickly counter in order to reach the results that we need. If we see something that is not going to get us to the results we need, we always need to be able to counter. So with this level of responsibility, I, as a PM, have to understand what are my capabilities and what is my capacity within my operation. So when I was in product management, I had manufacturing in Mexico, some in Asia, some in Europe, everywhere. So if I'm going to Mexico, for example, which I spent a lot of time there, and I have a customer that has a manufacturing facility in Mexico. So I would make that trip to stop at the customer, to visit, understand what are their pain points. Because if you are in manufacturing, there are delivery issues between my manufacturing place as a supplier to my customer manufacturing place. And if I know about that ahead of time, I can make sure that alignment happen. Or if they're expecting something else and something else is coming, I can make sure that my operation is ready. But I have to understand that. I have to make sure that I have a full scope of the talent that we have on the team, my operation, the functions. From a function standpoint, we have the necessary functions there, the capability from an equipment standpoint, the capacity. We want to make sure that all of that falls into place in order to make a commitment and say that, yes, we are ready to address this type of opportunity. Okay, so with all of that we learn, we want to put that into good use. And the good use is we want to make sure that we have a clear outline of our future roadmap. We want to make sure that it is comprehensive. I know my service today is I provide product A or service level A. Year 2, I want to upgrade that. I want to make sure I'm higher by one level. I can encompass, I can allow my business to expand a little bit more. By year 3, I want to move up another level. And of course, you can move up to, you can do your strategy from 3 years to 10 years. Typically, 10 years is hard to predict. Many organizations, they work on 3-year focus, 3 to 5 years vision, okay? So you focus on the next 1 to 2 years in order to set the basis for the next 3 to 5 years. And this allows us to make changes. If I'm moving from year 1 to year 2, and I'm seeing certain trends in the market that I did not see when I was developing my base here, then I can quickly make changes. But if I'm doing everything according to what I'm thinking that's happening in 10 years, I am missing out. And I'm putting a lot of resources not to so much good use. So we do this by understanding our business with everything that we covered so far. And finally, by looking at the sigmoid curve. I don't know how much familiarity within the team here on the sigmoid curve, but this is pretty much the different stages that the business can go through. So first, we wanted to understand about ourselves. We want to make sure that we find our position on this curve, our business position. Then we look and see about our customers and about our competition. So this allows us to create a roadmap for our business. If we are startup, we're looking at this initial phase. What we're doing, we're trying to brand ourselves, we're trying to get, everybody to understand who we are and what we make, and rise up, so be visible. The most crucial part of the businesses on the sigmoid curve is between phase 1 and phase 2, which is between the startup and the growth. 70% of businesses actually fail within the first, after 3 years of starting. I think they said within 3 to 5 years, 70% fail, and they are between these two areas. Because This is the perseverance phase. This is the suffering phase, if you will. We're trying so hard to do everything we can in order to pass from this phase to get to the growth where we are known, we have, the size of the business that we're looking for, we're growing, and we have the customer base that really likes and supports our growth. After phase 2, once we get to phase 2, then we reach a plateau. And some businesses stay in that plateau for a long time, could be decades, for example. But eventually, they reach the decline phase. So phase 3 is really crucial as crucial as the beginning of the life cycle of a business or a product or a service, because if we don't do anything here to reinvent ourselves, it's gonna eventually die. It's gonna go to nothing because somebody else is doing something here to take over. And a prime example here is what happens between, for example, Starbucks and Netflix, right? So Starbucks was known for a long time, for decades. Everybody just knew, not Starbucks, I'm sorry, Blockbuster, I apologize. Blockbuster, they were known for decades. And then Netflix came in and pretty much swiped them off the earth. They didn't compete on the same level or the same product or the same service that Blockbuster provided. They actually created a need. They created a brand new thing. And that's what they convinced the market that they need. So the market started to move away. Consumers moved away from Blockbuster, and Blockbuster didn't do much to reinvent themselves. They eventually just died, and then Netflix and other streaming companies just took over and started taking over that market. So that is a very vivid example, a little bit older example, but I think it's really it resonates with everybody at many levels. The other thing that is crucial here that I wanted to emphasize on is between phase 1 and phase 2, when I talked about the suffering and the perseverance. In this area, that's where they call you are always 3 feet away from gold. And I'm not sure if everybody is familiar with that reference, but a lot of businesses, the ones that they fail, they are getting very close to the turning point, and they either give up or they're just, they're too exhausted to continue. And that's where they fail. But if we make it through this part here, we can be on a really good growth stream, but we always have to develop ourselves and our business. So business development doesn't die. Business development is a crucial part of value engineering and product management because we're always looking at what is next. We're trying to do the best we can with what we have now and use it to address also what's next or to reach to what's next. We're always bridging. We're always moving from point A to B to C to make sure that we are continuously growing with the market trend, not falling behind. All right, so one thing to emphasize out of this presentation is that 3 elements that play a key role in a successful value engineering product management type of role is that communication plus the experience plus the voice of customer. That makes this function successful. If we lose one of those 3, if we are really good at what we're doing, we have the great experience, but we don't care about what the customer wants or says, and our communication style is really narrow-minded, if you will, or narrow-focused, just what we want to achieve is what we're communicating, we're losing big time on the opportunity. So it is always good to start understanding ourselves and our surroundings in order to address the market, in order to make sure that we have the right testimonials from our customers that allow us to grow within the environment that we want to grow. This brings us to the end of the presentation today. Any questions or any section that you would like to come back to and get further, explanation or discussion? Why am I not seeing that chat? Okay. Okay, if there are no questions and you think of anything afterwards, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. And if you need some information on any specific area or subtopic that we discussed, please let me know. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it and hope to see you again in future webinars.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.